Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, and Jared Goff have all had fantastic fantasy seasons throughout their careers, but they fall out of our top 10 rankings for the 2025 season. We reveal our quarterbacks 11 through 20 in our fantasy quarterback rankings on today's episode of Locked On Fantasy Football.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NFL fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Fantasy Football Podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. I am one of your co-hosts, Michelle Magdziuk, and when I'm not doing this, I'm a researcher and fantasy analyst with the NFL Network.
And I'm your other co-host, Vinnie Iyer. When I'm not doing this, I'm writing about NFL fantasy and betting for sportingnews.com.
Today, we're going to continue our quarterback rankings for the 2025 season. We already went through our top 12 rankings on yesterday's show. If you missed that, go listen to it. But today, we're going to go through quarterbacks 11 through 20, and then we'll go through the rest of our rankings on tomorrow's show, which will still be very, very helpful. And there's some guys in there that could even have potential to still be top 12. They're just super risky. Or if you play in a super flex or two quarterback league, then you're definitely going to want to know where we have them ranked. But getting back to quarterbacks 11 through 20, these two guys just missed out on both of our top 10 rankings. And it's Dak Prescott and Kyler Murray. And I have Dak at quarterback 11. You have him at quarterback 12. While I have Kyler Murray at 12. You have him at 11. So we're just flipped there. But honestly, I feel like any given day you could ask me, and they're just so close to me. And I just feel more comfortable with Dak Prescott's weapons at the moment, his wide receivers, than I do Kyler Murray's. And I feel more confident that Dak Prescott will actually, be a better quarterback as a thrower than Kyler Murray for this upcoming year. But, they've both given us plenty of good fantasy seasons before, but we're definitely much lower on Kyler Murray than his average draft position. He's at quarterback 9 right now. So why are you down on Kyler this year, Vinny?
In general, Kyler Murray has been someone other than having the knee issue and the slow start where he has been able to play most of the games, and he's got the floor of the running. It's a little bit higher than Dak Prescott's at this point, and Dak's running has kind of drifted away over the years, and he's been more dependent on the passing. So really what I'm trying to say here, 11 and 12, with so many guys we're going to talk about later in the show that are sleepers that come after, this is kind of a zone I'm not targeting all that much, but I think if Dak or Kyler drops a little bit from where we're looking at, they're going to be good values. This is kind of telling you to say this is about where they should be going. In other places, especially Kyler Murray is a little bit higher, so we're down on him versus I think we're a little bit above on Dak Prescott in relation to the market. So keep that in mind. So that tells you that Dak Prescott is a better value than Kyler Murray, just because, again, if he's healthy, I think he puts up better numbers than Kyler Murray. That's just the bottom line. That's the only caveat that we have is, can he stay healthy? He's gone from being super durable, right? And then he had that ankle issue against the Giants, and it's been, how many games is he going to miss this year? Or is this a year that he plays a full season, or does he miss half the season? So that's always come into play. And then we know with that, things plummet all around the Cowboys offense when he's not there. So again, it's pretty close. I mean, Kyler Murray, I think his ceiling might be capped. I mean, he runs, but then he can't make up for the 1,900 yard rushing that he's not going to give you, because he doesn't pass to give you what you need. So there's that. So I think these are two very volatile picks here. They could go either way. I would be not surprised at all if they go like 18, 19, 20. They finish somewhere there, or they go up to like 6 or 7. Neither would surprise me, but I think I'm a little bit more risk averse, and I think I don't like the vibes coming about either offense, where I think I want to avoid this situation, because we're going to talk to you and tell you about all these other better values that are around them, and especially like several rounds later that you can get.
I will say I would be more surprised if Kyler fell that far down, where he was just outside the top 15 quarterbacks. Because even last year, where it felt miserable year for him, he was still the quarterback 10 overall in fantasy, quarterback 12 on average. In 2023, he was a quarterback 10 in average, quarterback 7 in 2022 in average scoring. And then obviously in 2021 and 2020, he was a top 5 quarterback in both of those years. That's when he was like an elite fantasy quarterback. We haven't seen that lately. I don't know how much is going to change maybe Marvin Harrison Jr. steps up and that completely unlocks Kyler Murray. And he was running a lot last year, 572 rushing yards. If he continues to do that, maybe even increases it if he's feeling good about his health. There's hope for him to be a top 10 quarterback again. I just feel good about him right there at that quarterback 12 range. I just think that's where he ends up. With Dak Prescott, I'm with you. Like, if he ends up at quarterback 20, sure. If he ends up at quarterback 4, though, also sure. Like, I wouldn't be surprised either way with him. We have seen him be a top 4 fantasy quarterback in average scoring in 3 of the last 6 seasons. It's just the other seasons in between it are really, really not good whatsoever for fantasy, right? And then last year, it was a miserable fantasy season from him in the 8 games he did play. Quarterback 22 in average scoring. I will say his pass touchdown percent was just so incredibly low compared to the rest of his career. That seems like an outlier. It was at 3.8% last year for his pass touchdown percent. The 3 years prior to that, he was at 6.1. So that should really come back to, his median. That's why I feel a little bit better about Dak than Kyler. And then also I like Dak Prescott's ADP a lot more than Kyler's because Dak right now is sitting at quarterback 13 in average draft position while Kyler's at quarterback 9. So if I had to choose between these two, I'm definitely going to take Dak at his cost and Kyler Murray. Now, for our quarterbacks 13, we actually talked about both of these guys in yesterday's show because we each had the opposite person's guy in our top 10. So I had Patrick Mahomes at 13, you had him at 8, and then I had Brock Purdy, or you had Brock Purdy at 13, and I had him at quarterback 9. If you want to hear the reasons why I like him and Vinny's a little bit lower, you can go to yesterday's show and same thing for Patrick Mahomes. Now, moving on past that at quarterback 14, Jared Goff, he's fallen here after having a great season last year at quarterback 7, behind only Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield, Jalen Hurts, and Jaden Daniels. Like, Goff had a fantastic fantasy season, but he is fallen in our ranks. He's quarterback 14 for you, quarterback 15 for me. Why are you lower on Goff this year, Vinny?
Yeah, what's funny is now we're seeming to be higher Goff than what consensus is happening. So a lot of people are just plummeting Goff pretty low. And at some point, he's going to become a value again, right? And he's getting close to that range where I think it's harsh. I think everyone in the fantasy industry is kind of in a mind meld with this. Like, okay, he's got the outdoor games. He's lost Ben Johnson. All these factors are going to be there. But at some point, he's going to deliver to that cost. And if that cost is like QB16, you're still dropping him a good 10, 9, 8 spots, depending on your scoring system from last year. So that's a significant drop already, right? I don't know if he's deserving of that much of dissing. I think we just don't like Jared Goff in general because he's so pocket dependent. He gives you 0 in the running game. So what we need is someone else to emerge there in that passing game. Look, we're okay with Amon-Ra St. Brown, James Williams, and what they can do with Sam Laporta, but doesn't Isaac Tesla show up as a third key target? Does the new offense coordinator, John Morton, suddenly open it up a little bit more where they're not running as much and Jared Goff is throwing? But again, Jared Goff is attached to the running game in a weird way because he needs to play action and things downfield to work for him to be successful. And some of these things, the environment, the schedule, not having as many easy games and as many indoor games, that certainly is factored in. But we just had to be careful. Like, if he's going to go there QB 18, like, and then he's like a really good little pick here for your ADP, especially in Superflex and 2 QB leagues. But deeper leagues, he might be just a decent starter you need, and you can really load on depth. If you're in a 14-team league, say, you want to wait a little bit, you might get that 14 QB reward from Jared Goff if you take him a little bit later.
Yeah, he is definitely starting to fall in consensus rankings. In average draft position, he's holding strong at quarterback 11, but I could see that keep falling over the month of August. I mean, I do think our rankings at quarterback 14 and 15 are pretty fair. I mean, yes, last year was fantastic, but 2023, still with Ben Johnson. He was quarterback 14 in average scoring. 2022 with Ben Johnson, quarterback 13 in average scoring. So you're only moving him down, not really at all from 2023. I'm only moving him down from one spot. And I do think I want to remember that he's a really good trade candidate from after week 11, because the start of the Lions schedule is pretty rough for Goff, with road games in Green Bay, in Baltimore, in Cincinnati, in Kansas City, and then in November against in Washington, in Philadelphia. But he has 5 dome games and 4 home games, and then 1 game in LA, which should be good weather, from weeks 12 through 17. So I think he could be really interesting guy to trade for if he is struggling to start the season. I just want to remember that as we go through the season. But we're going to get through the rest of our top 20 rankings here right after we hear from one of our sponsors. This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. It's the best time of the year. NFL kickoff is almost here, and that means fantasy football season is back in full swing. And this year, Yahoo Fantasy is turning things up with a fantasy football experience like never before. This year, Vinnie and I, like always, are playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran making your millionth league. I've used Yahoo Fantasy for years, and the updates they're rolling out this month are wild in the best way. To celebrate 28 years of fantasy football greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days throughout August. To kick it off, they just dropped Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine Leagues, a killer new way to play fantasy football on Yahoo, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated each week until there's one team left standing. With the season around the corner, now's the time to get your league together and give the new mode a try. If you're more into the classics, you can still play in head-to-head private leagues or join a public league. Stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. All right, now here's where I get a little crazy in my rankings. All right, at quarterback 14, yes, over Jared Goff, in the same division, by the way, there'll be rivals coming up this year. I have basically rookie J.J. McCarthy. Now, it's really his second season, but he didn't play in his rookie year. I am pushing him down from what normally quarterbacks do under Kevin O'Connell, because this is his first year and we don't know what he's going to look like. But quarterback 14, it would be the worst quarterback rank among any of these quarterbacks that Kevin O'Connell has coached over the last 4 seasons. Sam Darnold last year, after being a miserable quarterback for his entire career, quarterback 10 in average scoring. Cousins in 2023, quarterback 8 in average scoring, quarterback 13 in 2022. Matthew Stafford with the Rams, and Kevin O'Connell was the OC there, quarterback 11 in average scoring, and that's really high for Matthew Stafford. So with the weapons he has in the offensive system he has the scrambling ability. Justin Jefferson's going to get it done for him. I couldn't get him lower than quarterback 14. I think he's a great value right now, where he's sitting at quarterback 19 in average draft position.
Yeah, I have a few spots later here for J.J. McCarthy, but part of it is I don't know what I'm going to get from J.J. McCarthy. The difference is Kirk Cousins, okay, a little bit established. Matthew Stafford was. I mean, Sam Darnold was not, but he entered the system. But then we also have the Jordan Addison suspension. How is that going to affect this passing game early? But Justin Jefferson and T.J. Hawkinson are plenty. It's just that McCarthy is a little bit of an unknown quantity. I wish I had seen him play a little bit more than I have to really have a comfort level. So we're doing a little bit of a blind thing because, again, Michelle's right. This is essentially his rookie season. He hasn't played a significant game that counts since the national championship over Washington. So he's still a bit of an unknown quantity. We don't know if he's, quote, good yet. I mean, that's the bottom line. I mean, and so you have to just be a little bit careful. But the system, as we see, like, whatever, the high tide raises all boats or whatever, that's the kind of thing here with what you get in this Vikings style of offense, or even the Sean McVay style of offense adjacent to that. So I think you looked at his situation. The environment says he should produce at that level. I'm just being a little bit more conservative, but I do appreciate the aggressiveness, and I can see your path to doing that.
I'm getting bold there. Definitely risky. Now, my quarterbacks 15 through 17 in the rankings goes Jared Goff at 15, Bo Nix at 16, Trevor Lawrence at 17. Your 15 through 17 goes Justin Herbert at 15, Matthew Stafford at 16, and Drake Maye at 17. We already discussed Justin Herbert and Bo Nix on yesterday's show because I had him all the way up at my quarterback 7 We're very different on him. We debated that yesterday. And then Bo Nix, you had him at quarterback 10. So again, a big difference between us, and we debated that as well. Now, talking about these other guys in our top 18 here, or top 17, we're very similar in Drake Maye, right? He gets in there at quarterback 17 for you. He's at quarterback 18 for me. And that's very on par with his average draft position at quarterback 18. Now, let's say you're in a 2-quarterback league or a super flex league. Are you getting aggressive in actually spending that price on him with all the risk that comes with this Patriots offense and Stephon Diggs being healthy and these other playmakers stepping up?
Yeah, there's a couple more things with Drake Maye. And Drake Maye and McCarthy is like one of the hardest things to do. In a lot of leagues, I want to keep them both. If I'm super flex or 2 QB leagues, I'd like to hedge my bets. Actually, in our dynasty league that we play at the Experts, I stashed McCarthy, so I ended up with McCarthy and Darnold from the Vikings last year, and now I have 3 quarterbacks there to start. So I like to keep the options open. Drake Maye we've seen play, and we've seen flash as well, and I think he gives you more of a cheat code than people would like to admit. He's a very good athlete. He's going to take off and run. That's going to help his numbers here, no matter what he does in the passing game. But you figure Stephon Diggs is going to help him settle, as well as Josh McDaniels having a good tight end. He's got great chemistry with Hunter Henry. He felt a lot more confident at the end of last season as well. So, see, this is a situation where I like the player maybe more than the system, and the system is better, and it's going to be better because it was dysfunctional a little bit last year. So I'd probably like Maye, the player. If they're reversed, I would be super high on Maye in Minnesota, like if that was the question. And McCarthy, I just don't know right now. So I do feel like I can bang the table and take Drake Maye. He's a youthful upside quarterback. I think all the talent is there to put up the numbers you're needing overall. So again, I would back that up. And really, if I'm in any 2 QB Superflex league, he'd be a really ideal spot for me. It's either him or McCarthy that I would want most here because of their upside. Because you always want to take that guy that's sure thing in the early quarterbacks, and then you get one guy like this, and you're in business.
Yeah, I really believe that at least one of McCarthy or Maye will surprise us this year and maybe make it even into the top 12. So really like both of these guys upside. I feel a little bit more confident in J.J. McCarthy only because of his weapons and because of the coaching. You know, if Drake Maye was in Minnesota, then he would have been up top, maybe even higher than where McCarthy, well, you know, it would have been much different if McCarthy's with the Patriots. Now, one of our biggest differences, again, in all of our rankings has to be Matthew Stafford. You have him at quarterback 16. I don't have him until quarterback 24. I can't get on board with this, Vinny. Last year, quarterback 27 and average scoring at just 13.4 points per game. Quarterback 18 in 2023. Quarterback 32 in 2022. And then he had that insane 41 passing touchdown year. And again, that was with Kevin O'Connell. But quarterback 11, like he threw 41 touchdowns and he still was only quarterback 11. He couldn't even top into the top 10. And you have him at quarterback 16. He's 37 years old. He hasn't been practicing because of back issues. All those reasons. I mean, I could even push him down further than 24. I'm out on him.
Yeah, I mean, I have a trouble with Matthew Stafford because the system is good, the receivers are great, and I think there's a path to putting up a lot more touchdowns for him. Now, I see a path where he can get 30 touchdowns with these 2 guys because, I mean, Devontae Adams has been a double-digit guy, so you get 11 or 12 out of him. You get 8 or so out of Puka Nacua. You're almost there, right? So I look at it and say, this is a lot the Devontae Adams effect, and maybe I'm just too high on Adams and what he's doing here with the Rams. But I like that concept, and I think he's becoming more of a value as people are getting scared off of the back injury. I mean, they're going to be careful with him in the preseason anyway. We saw that they played a lot of Stetson Bennett last year. They're playing a lot of Stetson Bennett this year. So they're going to be careful with him. He's going to be fully ready to go here. And again, I just trust McVay and the Rams offense. I think Adams, in a weird way, kind of just replaces Kupp, but makes it a little bit easier on them because they have 2 outside receivers now for the most part where he can target. So I think Stafford, again, this is based on the weaponry, based on the system a little bit more. But again, Stafford has put up the numbers. And again, I'm just saying he shouldn't be too far down. Like I see him down at QB 24, 25. I think that's a little harsh. I mean, where you have him, but I could see him splitting the difference and going more QB 20. I just think he's a better value than where he's going right now. Look, if we are high on Nakua and Adams, someone's throwing them the ball to put up those numbers, and Stafford is a good enough system. I mean, it's not like he's in some dysfunctional type of passing game. I mean, Sean McVay is going to know how to use those receivers, and they have a little bit of youth as well behind them at receiver that could also be more impactful than we think. So that's where I'm going with Stafford overall. But again, I understand it comes with risk, but I'm going on the high upside part with the receivers.
Yeah, it all sounds good. There's just a lot of worries there, right? So it probably is somewhere more in the middle, right? Between us, where quarterback 16 might be too high, quarterback 24 is probably too low, maybe somewhere in the middle there. And if that's the case, then he'll be an all right value in drafts because he's going very late. We have to get through the rest of our top 20 right after a quick break.
August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week one even kicks off, this is your moment. And it's really take a flyer. I mean, MVP, we've got a lot of options. Maybe you want to look at Jaden Daniels in year two and what the Commanders are doing. That's a very sneaky pick. I mean, division champions, maybe you want to look to the NFC or AFC South, where maybe surprise team like the Panthers or Jaguars could do that. And Super Bowl wise, I mean, there's a handful of teams that can win, so you can go after someone other than the Chiefs and Eagles, or you can parlay a division winner with other dark horses. It's all kind of fun to play on FanDuel. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. All right, we will continue looking into the future and looking at our quarterback rankings as we kind of get to our top 20-ish, the bottom of it, right? There are some guys that we are disagreeing on that don't make the cut here, but will make the cut on tomorrow's show when we look to 21 to 30 and a little bit beyond that. Now, let's look at this. Trevor Lawrence. Now, I want to like Trevor Lawrence more, but I'm going to tell you this. When I was making these rankings, I'm a little worried about Trevor Lawrence just not having it anymore. There's something odd about it that I thought, okay, you'd see it right away with Liam Cohen, but it seemed to be like a slow play. I wasn't all that impressed early. I mean, I'm just really kind of disappointed that he hasn't broken out yet, but this is his chance. I think this is his final chance to show us in reality and fantasy that he's there. He's got an ADP of 22. He's going somewhere a little bit earlier than that. I have him as QB 19. You have him as QB 17 ahead of Drake Maye. So do we think Trevor Lawrence is finally going to do it? And could he be like Baker Mayfield with Liam Cohen?
Yeah, I know. So I don't have him finally doing it, but I don't have him as bad as last year. So last year, miserable quarterback 27 overall, quarterback 23 in average scoring. He was quarterback 17, though, in 2023, quarterback 11 in 2022. So we've seen him be a top 12 quarterback before. I won't be surprised if he sneaks into there this year. But I have him more like just having an okay season where it's not miserable, but it's better than what we saw last year. The thing with him is it's been a lot of bad fantasy production. Even when he's like playing well, it doesn't always show up in fantasy points. He's scored 20 plus points in just 12 of 60 career games. That's 20% of games. That's terrible. He's scored fewer than 16 points in 32 of 60 games. So more than half. But he is only 25 years old. He has great weaponry with Brian Thomas Jr. and Diami Brown. I don't know why I said him before Travis Hunter, but Travis Hunter, Diami Brown, And the Liam Cohen thing is very interesting because Baker Mayfield was never a good fantasy quarterback before Liam Cohen, right? Even with Dave Canales in 2023, he had a good season, but it was 16 fantasy points per game. And that went up to 21 and a half with Liam Cohen. Now, maybe Baker just had a magical season. Maybe it wasn't anything to do with Liam Cohen, but it is interesting how much his passing touchdowns went up, how much his rushing went up in particular too, right? That's what we've been waiting for Trevor Lawrence to do, run more. And that's what we need to see out of him. And we finally saw that last year with Baker. So that's your upside hope there, is that Liam Cohen can just make Trevor Lawrence break out. But I think quarterback 17 is a fair ranking for him. And technically, we're both higher on him than average draft position at quarterback 22. So we're saying he's a pretty good value if you're playing in a 2-quarterback super flex league.
Yeah, so this is the next tier of values after you get through Maye and McCarthy. Then you're looking down if you wait a little bit. Trevor Lawrence is not a bad target. And I did mention the Jaguars could surprise with some of their elements and their young players. Another team that could surprise, the Carolina Panthers. And you got to like what you've seen out of Bryce Young. Maybe I'm just too low on him already at 22, but we're still much higher than him. You have him up there at QB 19, so I like the aggressiveness with him. He looked good in the first game. You had Tedero McMillan. He was locked in to him. And look, Adam Thielen's not going anywhere. He's going to be a key target times. Jalen Coker's going to keep doing his thing. There's going to be a whole bunch of dudes that just produce for this Panthers team. And again, this is the Dave Canales effect. So I don't know which is the greater effect, the Canales or Cohen effect. I mean, you kind of have the trickle down of Baker Mayfield for both these guys. But when I'm looking at Bryce Young, I've always thought he's talented. Like, it kind of has surprised me that things haven't all worked out, but partly is because his coaching stunk early in his career. It's hard to overcome that. And his weapons were terrible, right? And now you finally give him a number one, and you have some options there in the passing game that all of a sudden Bryce Young looks like a competent quarterback. He can take off and run. He had some multiple touchdown games to close last year, so he's got upside going into this year in the same system. So there's a lot to like about Bryce Young. And again, it would not surprise me if Young finishes ahead of Lawrence this year either.
No, I mean, he did last year in
Yeah.
average scoring. He scored more than Jordan Love, Caleb Williams, CJ Stroud, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Prescott in average scoring. Now, it still wasn't good. He was quarterback 24 in
Yeah.
average, but it got way better towards the end of the year. And I'm actually shocked he's still sitting at quarterback 25 in average draft position. I thought his end of last season was going to push him up in rankings where I'd be out on him just because it's too risky. But right now, I'm totally in because I have him at quarterback 19. So 6 spots higher than his ADP. And he was a top 20 quarterback in every week from week 10 on. And then he was a top 14 quarterback in 5 of the last 7 weeks of the season with 2 top 2 quarterback finishes in 2 of the last 3 weeks. Like, he was a quarterback 2 in week 16, quarterback 1 in week 18. He averaged 20.7 points per game from weeks 12 through 18. Like, something clicked for him. And like you said, they added a true wide receiver 1 in Tedero McMillan. He was getting it done with guys like Jalen Coker and an old man Adam Thielen, who, by the way, are both still there, but now they don't have to be a wide receiver 1 for the team. And we'll see if Xavier Legette can, show up in his second season more than his rookie year. But it's going to be a very interesting year for Bryce Young. And I really like taking him as my second quarterback if I'm in a super flex or a 2-quarterback league. Now, lastly here, Jordan Love just makes our top 20. We're lower on him than ADP. And maybe we're too low on him as a podcast because he was quarterback 17 in average last year. I don't think he's going to be worse than last year, but I just like other guys over him. So that's why he makes my quarterback 20. And then quarterback 6, we saw him do in his first season as a full-time starter with the Packers in 2023. He had that insane second half of the season that really pushed that up. He did suffer injuries last year, so maybe that was why he struggled, but he has still yet to ever have a 30-point fantasy day. So that, like, huge upside in every given week. He has not shown. He only, has 15 plus points in only 21 of 32 games, 66%. It's okay, but nothing like fantastic. And he's never hit 40 rushing yards in a game either. So you depend so much on his passing touchdowns. For all those reasons, I have him lower. I will admit, though, he's probably too low in our rankings.
Yeah. Now I'm wondering if I think I might have him too high at this rate because I'm looking at some of the things that are developing. He's not healthy. Jayden Reed is not healthy. I don't know when Christian Watson's going to return. Romeo Doubs, who knows what he's going to do. You have Matthew Golden as a deep threat. This is a run-heavy team with defense. And you're right. Like, he doesn't run enough. I think there was a little bit of a mirage when he had his breakout year because he ran for some touchdowns that kind of padded those stats that usually don't materialize here for Jordan Love. But I don't know. Like, he's just not a player you want to target and feel good about. There's a lot of those players, I think, across the board. But he's one. I think I don't know. There's that vibes, right, with the Packers, the Texans. You just don't feel like you need to be attached to A quarterback is going to give you not much in the rushing game, going to have to produce a lot of passing touchdowns to be relevant for you. They could have some clunker weeks as too, where they have interceptions and just drive you nuts. So I don't know. Like Jordan Love, again, we'll have to see. This is a big reality for him. I think it's also big for Stroud. They're just too low. And again, when you see some of the upside and environment that are helping some guys we mentioned, Maye, McCarthy, Lawrence, Young, they're just more appealing than trying to force ourselves into Jordan Love, where again, there's a lot of paths to disappointment with Jordan Love that the other guys don't have.
Yeah. And like the inconsistencies that Jordan Love has had throughout his career, it's like he'll go through stretches where he's great and then stretches where it's just miserable and he's killing you in fantasy. Like just not, I don't want to live and die off of those inconsistencies and stretches. So we're both out on him at his current cost. He would have to fall a lot further for us to consider taking him. But that will be it for today. We'll get through the rest of our quarterback rankings on tomorrow's show. I want to thank you all for making Locked On Fantasy Football your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On Bets. Betting experts Lee Sterling and Kevin Rogers have daily MLB bets and can't miss football futures. Find Locked On Bets on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye, y'all.